Okay, welcome everyone to the New Jersey User Group meeting. Thank you very much for coming. We've had some people have had issues with sound, so if you do, feel free to just call in. And if you call with your phone, it should work properly. Alan, I'm going to give you the remote. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me get you. I have, just so you know, I have the custom fields, your presentation up. I have a tab with the back end already logged in for 3.7, and I have a tab for the front end.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so let me give you the remote. Allow. So I've just given you control. Let's see how this works. Okay, go.
You can. So now it works. Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. I'm mainly the main developer of the custom fields feature of 3.7. Basically, custom fields add some additional offers to add some additional data to elements. For example, to article, to users, to contacts. It also allows for third-party extensions that they can easily integrate it into their components. But for now, we'll show how to do that with articles.
Sorry.
No problem. When you, in the backend, when you open the first time the menu of 3.7 installation, you will see two new menu items, fields and fields groups. On fields, you see a list as you are used in a Joomla backend. Then you have here the buttons. One is the main one is new. Then you can open or create a new field, give it a title, and the important point is the type. Actually, we have, I guess, 16 types. Just a moment. Actually, we have 16 types. That's the main core fields. That's the main core fields that you are used in Joomla. One is a text, escrow, media, or a text area. Is there some problems with the sound, with the microphone?
No, it sounds a little murky, but I don't know if that's just your mic. It sounds the way it did yesterday.
Okay.
I don't know if I can, this one I can do that. I mean, I can make your volume slightly lower. Okay, and you can try now.
Is it better now?
Yes. Yes, a little clearer.
Okay. Good. Okay, very good. Then, yeah, basically, even the important point is the type. That you need to set when you create the field the first time, and afterwards you can't change it.
Oh, I took your remote.
No problem. For now, we create here a list, and then the page reloads, and there are mostly then additional settings you can do. For example, in the list, you can define the list options, and unlimited. You can give it like let's say, for example, when you have here countries, value 1, and Germany, value 2, and what else? Canada is value 3. You can then see sometimes you see a multiple use from plugin. Every custom field type is a Joomla plugin, so basically you can add or you can define your own field types, and then it will appear here in the list. And in that case, we say, okay, that's a multiple list. Then you can set here the status of the field, to which article category it belongs to. Should you then pop up, you can say, okay, I want to show that field only for these categories. Only the user with that access level should see it, or with that language. And then there are some small options. For example, in text field we have a placeholder, then some CSS classes, if the label should be shown or not, if where should it show, on the front end, on the back end, for everybody. And then the fields are automatically displayed. We'll see that later. We can also control where the field should be displayed, if it's before the description, after description, or straight after the title. There are also some publishing options we already know from articles, and also permissions. And there is a new permission introduced, the edit custom field value, and this defines which users from which user group can edit the field then in the form. For example, when I have a certification platform, then I want to have only that admins can edit a field of a user and not the user itself, so I can just play around with the permissions. Good, then let's save this one. And then you see now it's the type is disabled, I can't change it anymore. Everything else stays. Then we go to the articles. Create a new article. And you see here a new tab, fields. Let's here should show the list of countries I've put in. I make the article feature that it appears in the front. And then when all is going good, then the fields are saved here. And when I go to the front, I see here my article with the new custom field. This custom field is basically in the background, it's a J layout. It's generated out of a J layout. So you have the possibility to customize the output here per component or globally. And all what I can do is I can define here. I'm able to change here the whole, this field container, that's a J layout, or then only really the value. For example, we have a new gallery field, and with that I'm able then to have here influence how the gallery should be displayed. When I now want to have like that, I don't want to have this default tab fields. I want to give it another name. I can create here a field group. I give it the name data. And when I go now to fields, I can batch edit them and move to the group data, or I can copy it. Now, when I go to back to the article, And I don't see here the tab fields, I see here the tab data. And I can choose my countries from. Here on the front end.
Alon, I just want to let you know you're getting wows over here. We're very excited.
Yeah?
We're very excited.
Glad to hear that.
Standing ovation right now.
Glad to hear that. Good. As I said, I can on the field in the options, for example, I can say I want to have that after the title. So hopefully it shows now. No. That's because this event is not used in the block view or like in this front page view. But basically now the field shows after the title. The same is possible for contacts. For example, I can define any new fields only for the contact formular. For example, like what do you say? Department security list. Sales. Support. And when I now create a new contact, let's just choose one then. Save and close. And then we go here. This contact form, and I see here the array of fields, and at the moment it's disabled. That's because because I'm not logged in user, and I don't have the permission for that. So what I need to do is I need to go to contacts and set here globally for the public that I can change the field.
So that field is primarily for a contact form because you made the type of mail. Excuse me, mail. If you made the type of contact, then it would be a field for that person. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Just showing that. Now, for example, when I have a request, or like when I'm in contact, and I can define which department it is for, and in the mail, this value will be sent then together with the mail at the end of the body of the mail. And yeah, the same happens for contact. Also for the main contact, I can define here fields for even for the contact itself, for name, or even for the category. It's also possible to define custom fields for category. They will then appear above the list, for example, when you show the list of articles. It will show above that, or the block. It will show at the beginning of a block.
I have a question. How is the data stored in these extra fields? Is it an additional table, meaning that is it possible to import data? Let's say you have an extra field in the contact. Is it possible to import easily, or how is the data stored? I guess that's the question.
The data is stored for the fields. That's an ordinary table, like for articles or contacts with all this published up and published down stuff with the state. And the found values, they're stored in an extra table, where this table only has 4 columns. One is the field ID, the context it belongs to. The context is what we see here on the top. For example, for the contact, it's a contact, or here for mail we have, well, basically it should show the contact here in the list. But basically it's on the contact, the item ID, and then when you have a contact, the contact ID and the value. It's a really simple database schema. It's nothing special done on that point. And I guess for an outsider, I guess it's easily possible to import data into custom fields. Importing new fields can be a little bit tricky because of the asset table, but adding values for custom fields, that should be done should be possible relatively easy.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions up until this point? If you want, you can send me a message.
Yes, Bob
questions?
Sent some.
Nope. Any questions in here? Okay. I have one more question. In the content, is it possible to put the fields in the middle of the content? So instead of above the description, below the description, is there a way to embed the fields within the content? Easily, or if not, that's okay.
No, it should be relatively easy, but I don't know if this editor, there is an editor button, fields, and then here I can add the field. And when I save it, back to the exactly.
Yeah, no, that's it. The top is because you defined, so you can define it to not show anywhere, I'm assuming, and then you manually put it inside of the article instead.
Exactly. The field itself, that I don't have to switch it. The field itself can, in this option here, automatic display, it can be set to no. And now the field should not display here, and here is just the content. And in the article at the moment, it's before we had much more, or like in my DP fields, which is basically the base product of this custom fields feature, we had some kind of templating stuff. But now it's only like that, as you know, from modules. And that's using, again, this layouts to render the fields. That's added like a week ago, this functionality. So it's basically the first ones who see that.
Oh, this is brand new. Cool.
Yeah, this is really We did that in like a week ago or so.
That's great.
Bob had a question.
Are you ready to show the category blog view or category list using the fields, or is there more here?
No, I guess that's the basic things. Yeah, we can, for that we have to go again here to the fields, and then say, now I want to create a field for a category. And just say, the demo intro. And then when I go back to the category, I see here a tab, fields. Give it a value. Now we need to menu item. With a block, huh? For categories, that's also brand new. I made that also like a week or two ago. And now we see here on the blog view on the top, the custom fields display. At the moment they show really like basic stuff, but the powerful thing on that is even that with template overrides you can do almost everything, styling or whatever, and really deeply into that. If it's for interest, I can show you how such a layout does look like. If
Wait,
you guys want to know that.
One more question.
Yep.
Well, I have a lot, but in a category list, can I select to display the custom field from the article, not from the category necessarily, although that's very cool. I do see that in the blog view that my demo article, I'm seeing that category, that new field because it was in the intro text, so that's good. But what about in the category list, can I select that field to display?
Like in a column? In
a column, yeah.
No, that's not possible. You also the next question is, can we filter for that, or can we search for that field?
Oh, that's
well, all of that is at the moment it's not possible because it was really also already relatively hard to bring that into core, and it's now, I guess, stuff like that will be then done on the next iteration, or for example with Joomla 4 or whatever.
I see. Not necessarily the selection, because that we have with tagging. But the concept in a category list to be able to show one of those fields in the list, to me, would be a pretty important, very powerful addition, because the category list is actually very strong, but it's limiting because there are only certain fields you could select. So this, to me, would be a natural extension of what the category list already does. Where I understand the filtering, that could get very complex very quickly. So I'm not necessarily, but I do see the category list as a more higher priority, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that something like that will be implemented in the next minor or major version. At the moment, it's not planned. We are busy with some other stuff for Joomla 4. But open an issue on the tracker, perhaps somebody is volunteering on that.
This looks really good so far. What else did you want to, one other question. I'm assuming you can edit the field from the front end, right? That was part of the permission. Edit the content field at the article level from the front end? you're editing on the front end?
Yeah. Then the same happens as on the back end. You see the tab, the fields, and you can then choose the values there.
Let me ask the group. Oh, here we go. Okay, so Bob's asking at some point, wondering if the speakers show a practical use of a custom field in an example. Okay, do you have an example, a website that I can go to that you've played with that uses the custom fields? That's what one of the users asked.
I can show one website.
Hold on a second. I'm just going to change my screen for a second. Okay, there we go. Go ahead.
For example, I use that in a private project. For example, here it is this gallery field. That's a custom field, and I have just like then I have you can choose with the gallery field. You can choose a folder in the images folder, and like that I created such a gallery field. And now in every article of this project, I can then just select the folder with the image display, and everything is then done automatically. I don't add here some module for every article or whatever. It's just really a single field. And I can select a folder from to show it as a gallery. And then additionally here, all of that's also custom fields. So I have for every project, then I have a custom field, like where power, so I can make sure that every project is then looking the same because I have the field and the custom fields. Is that enough? Did that answer your question?
Can you show that article in the back end? That way they could see what it looks like in the back?
Because of privacy, not. No, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Anyone else in the group? Any other questions? Let me just grab control real quick and just make sure I haven't missed anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, they can hear. Okay. Bob, did that answer your question? Good. Okay. Any other questions? So are there any other features in 3.7 that you know of that we should be looking forward to besides the custom field?
Yeah, there's multi-angle improvements, but I don't know if that's, I guess for Americans it's not so important. Then the new router.
Okay, say it again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there is multilingual improvements. For example, like here, they have a multilingual association where you have a side-by-side editor, but I guess for you Americans it's not so relevant. Then what you have, one of also basically the second biggest feature is the new routing to remove the IDs in the URL. But that you have to activate then.
Yeah, is that the menu item generation, the URLs? The URL generation I thought was changing.
Yeah. That's new. And there is a new option, URL routing. Then you have legacy or modern. When you activate modern, then you can say, okay, I want to remove the IDs from the URLs. And
if you turn that on, does that screw up the site? Like, what does that do if the system already exists and you turn that on? What happens?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I didn't play much with that feature, but I guess it invalidates all the existing articles. So, yeah, I don't know even the URL structure and everything for search engines. I don't really know what all the influences are, but I guess the URLs, they changed them.
But will the old URLs still work?
I don't think so.
No.
I guess you...
Well, I guess whisper to the powers that be that to come up with some kind of way to make this turning on system somewhat seamless somehow, to either give us a way to build what the current sitemap is so we can automatically create redirects or something, because you can imagine a site that has 1,000 pages and all of the URLs already have ID numbers in them, and then you turn this on, everything that may have worked that you may have had a link to is now no longer going to work unless you create a redirect.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's really a nightmare. Yeah, we're aware about that, and I guess, yeah, at the moment that's why it's disabled by default.
Good.
And yeah, I guess over time we will need to fix that. There are also some bugs in there, and yeah. But there was a question to show the comparison of how URL would look like when it's changed.
Yes.
So, for example, here when I open this URL of the demo article, with this disabled, then you see here before of them no ID, and when I look here on the blog before that, you see here on the bottom you see here a one dash demo at the end of the URL. So basically that changes.
Yes, so Olivier brought up an old site. It's a nightmare of redirections. And Olivier, I think you're right on that. For now, until they figure out a good way to do that. What about the upgrade between the current version of Joomla over to 3.7? Are you anticipating that to just be a click, an easy upgrade?
Oh, yeah. That's just the one-click upgrade, as usual.
Okay.
If you didn't change anything in core.
Okay. Have you worked with the components? Have the component developers been testing 3.7 to see what's going to blow up? Or we don't?
No, we had Science Beta 1, we had a lot of new issue reports. People were heavily testing it. Yeah, from my opinion, it looks really stable, but then we're going now into release candidate phase then. And yeah, I know from a lot of people who are testing it, UX is on it, so yeah, it's
and I see another question over here for the developers to incorporate custom fields into an extension. I know Olivier has already done it in his. Which he's saying right here. Have you seen other developers, or you're not in contact with other component developers that are utilizing this functionality?
I know there is another a maintainer who's doing that, and he was for him like an hour, and he integrated it into his extension. So yeah, I guess, I mean, till official 3.7 stable isn't released, nobody's using it as in their extension, but afterwards I'm expecting that a lot of extension developers will integrate it. It is really, if you follow the Joomla, basically if you follow the Joomla conventions, it should be like a 1-2 hour task to integrate it into your extension.
Great. I think, honestly, the only piece that's missing, I know from our standpoint, is the concept of showing the articles as a list with the new fields. So it's very close, but I feel that that's the only piece that's really missing, because once you start adding fields, what people are going to ask for is, well, I want to show is the category list view and be able to show, pick the fields. I don't know if anyone else has, I think in my room here, everyone's nodding that's the only piece that's missing. Other than that, it looks really fantastic. You know, our goal is to not have to do template overrides because then you have more work to do in the end. So, yes, Olivia, yes, you can create the overrides. Yes.
Yeah. I guess for 3.7 you don't have another option. I created an override for, I did the same for a membership site where I needed to show some fields in the contact form, like in the contact list. So yeah, basically for at the moment it's the only option you have to create an override.
Right. Okay. Any other questions from the group? Okay, Olivier, right, Olivier is mentioning also it's easy for developers to create an override, but the end user it's more difficult. And my personal concern with overrides is really the updating of Joomla. Is, you know, when you create the overrides, that sometimes those may no longer work. And if it's something simple as a list, it's almost a tease to have these extra fields. And I could see, you know, if you have an articles of courses, for example, and you have a list of courses that the English department teaches, you have the name of the course, the ID of the course, maybe a link to a syllabi, you have the course instructor. You can imagine that displaying that in a list table-like, although you want it to be responsive, of course, would be really powerful without having to use a complex directory structure like Mozet's or Sobi or you know, all the others.
Yeah, I definitely. But for, I guess now it's relatively, I would say, now you can basically do overrides in a safer way because 3.7 is mainly the last release which has new features. The next 3.8 will probably just be backporting stuff from Joomla 4. So, I mean, in Joomla 4 you have the regular overrides mainly anyway. So, yeah, at the moment.
When is Joomla 4 supposed to come out?
When it's ready.
And what about Joomla 3.7, something more current? When is this release supposed to come out, supposed to be stable?
Yeah, officially in March, but now they closed, they made the language freeze, so I guess, yeah, somewhere in March or April. I hopefully it's in March, but yeah, at last in April, I guess.
Okay. Yes, Olivier, March, sometime between March and April for 3.7. And the thought is 4.0 won't be, it's, from what it sounds like, at least another year or maybe 2 years. So we have some time.
Yeah, I don't say. I'm optimistic and say end of the year. We form now a group, and yeah, I guess there will be, for Joomla 4 there will be not many big new features. It's mainly just a cleanup and going with Bootstrap 4. But yeah, I guess
the release, okay, 4 is 90% complete. So with now that we don't have the long-term releases of the 0.5s, so when you go to the Joomla 4.0, whatever the most recent 3 version is, that you're going to hold on to, so people don't have to jump to 4 right away. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for the 3 version after, at least after 3.8, we will, we will then for another, like for the last, or when 4 came out, I guess for another 2 years it will support Joomla 3. I guess, something like that.
Okay, and Bob just asked, I don't know if you know this question, will version 4 break the template?
Actually, I'm fighting for that it not will, but yeah, it's a really complicated topic, and I, for example, especially as an extension developer at the moment, I'm fighting for a way that we can, like, some kind of making Joomla front-end framework agnostic, so kind of like that we're not dependent on Bootstrap or UIKit or whatever. So yeah, but that's a really challenging task, and we're trying to find a solution to do that. But at the moment, I can't really say how.
Okay. That's fair. Thank you. Any other questions from the group? Okay, well, I want to thank you, everyone, very much. I will put this recording up on the wall, and I hope you guys all learned something about custom fields, and we're all very excited to get this functionality. So thank you very much for your time, for coming in.
No problem. Always happy to spread the word.
Thank you. Thank you again. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.